Hello, everybody. It is so good to see you in person. This is our first in-person PrestoCon, so welcome! This is so awesome, and we're really excited. Woohoo! It does deserve a round of applause. So quick introduction, I am LeClerc. I am the chair of the Presto Foundation community team. So as part of the charter, it's the team's job to put on events like this, to outreach to the community, and to do a lot of the programs and fun activities to get more excitement going around Presto. So thank you all for being here in person. We are so excited for the day. We do have a lot to cover, so before we get into it, and I pass things over to my co-MC Girish here, big thank you to our sponsors. Without your support, we couldn't do the event without you. Gold sponsor, Ahana. Silver sponsors, Seller Data and Min.io. Bronze sponsor, Uber. And our community partners, Growthbook and Lake FS. Again, without their support, it would be really hard to put on an event like this, so we really thank them. So with that, I am thrilled to introduce Girish. Girish is the chair of the Presto Foundation, and we'll be giving a little bit of a keynote this morning. So please take it away, Girish.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Ali, and welcome all to PrestoCon. It's great to see you all in person. I think this is the first time we've done it in over 2 years, so it's been a really long break, and it's awesome to see all of you here. I know we're all great practitioners of data infrastructure. We love data. We like to get into details. And I can't wait to do that with all the wonderful talks we have lined up today. But before we do that, I think it's always good to take a step back and see why we're doing all of this, right? So why do we build all these data systems? If you think about it, the main reason is to empower our users, right? All the data scientists, data analysts, the data consumers, to answer the questions they want to answer from all the piles of data that we are collecting, right? And so if you look at the landscape of data consumption today, you will see that in most companies, there's data spread across multiple different silos, multiple different corpuses, and all of these come with their own kind of custom engines, different ways of doing things. Maybe it's a query language, maybe it's a programming language, different ways of working with this data, right? And then all these query languages interfaces have to be managed. Maybe it's one team, maybe it's multiple teams, maybe it's multiple engines in the same company, just huge amount of complexity. And if you are a really successful company, the data size grows, the complexity grows, and inevitably the costs grow. So these are the challenges that we face as people who are trying to provide these data infrastructure systems. And of course, also the data engineers and other folks who work with us to make this data usable and consumable to all the data consumers in our companies. So how do we solve this? The way we solve this, at least in this community we've gathered here today, is Presto, right? So Presto is a fast and reliable SQL for data analytics and the local open lakehouse. So it is an engine that allows data across all kinds of formats, silos, and even different engines to be all brought together under a single uniform interface and a single language, right? SQL, which through the past 40 to 50 years, I would say, has proven its worth, its merit, and its applicability to all different kinds of data problems. So here's how Presto makes it accessible across systems. So Presto has connectors to a lot of different kinds of databases, data warehouses. So we have a whole bunch of services here, file formats, systems, all the way from old systems like SQL servers to the cutting-edge technologies like Elastic, Pinot, Redis, Druid, and so forth, right? So the entire plethora of services are all accessible through Presto. And the ability to quickly extract insights from all these kinds of data is what makes Presto useful and reliable and exciting for our customers. So Presto powers the largest open SQL data warehouse in the world, right? So we have a data lake which is where all the data in most companies comes. This is where the data lands. We have different kinds of formats in which we represent this data. So we have formats like Delta Lake, Iceberg, Hoodie, and then Parquet, ORC to represent the data sets and different kinds of data. We have different storage systems on which this data is represented. So Amazon S3, Google Cloud, Hadoop, HDFS, and so forth. And so all of these different kinds of data formats, storage systems, all accessible through Presto. Also, other ways in which people access this data, TensorFlow, PyTorch, XGBoost, well integrated with Presto, right? So if you want to have one uniform service that can allow your users to access data in your data lakehouse, Presto is it. Now, why Presto? First of all, Presto is open, right? So it is open source. You can go look at the code. You can go contribute to the code. If there's a new system or some system in your company which is not represented here, you can go build the connector, contribute it back to the system. And the most important in my view is the price performance, right? So you might be able to find systems which might perform better than Presto on one benchmark or the other, but the price performance is very compelling. Presto is free. You can just download it. And Presto is reliable. It scales because we know we've built it in big companies like Meta, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, ByteDance. So given all of this, Presto is an amazing engine. You can use it out of the box. But it's even more. So Presto, as I'm going to argue in the next couple of slides, is not just an engine. It powers an entire ecosystem. So what do I mean by that? So first of all, Presto allows users, your data consumers, to access all their data using one language, which is the standard SQL, ANSI compliant, that Presto supports out of the box. And it's a single interface, right? So your users just go to your Presto interface. So either they connect directly through a CLI, or you can put some sort of a query interface on top, data grep, IntelliJ, what have you. Single interface, right? And then it is fast. We all love Presto because the queries just run. They run in seconds in most cases. It's reliable. You can scale it up to tens of, even hundreds of thousands of machines. And it's efficient, right? Because as you might all know, Presto does most of its processing in memory, very efficient. So there are no intermediate materializations. The queries run fast. In other words, it's an amazing engine to start working with it. But it's even more than that. And this is how we are extending Presto at Uber, right? So this illustrates how you can take what the Presto engine gives you and all the things that the community provides and extend it to beyond just the engine. So on the left side is the query editor that any user at Presto would see. We call it Query Builder, right? You build your Presto query, and then you can run your query on Presto right away. That's the basic integration that works. But then we have different complexity of use cases, right? So on the right side, you can see all the different use cases we need to power through data analytics. So on the top, you see signals, right? So these are things that tell us, for instance, if there is a surge that's happening in a city, so supply-demand imbalance, right? Or if some event is going on and there's some traffic going on or something like that, some anomalous event. We want to detect this in an order of seconds. So for that, we use an engine called Flink. Now, what Presto allows us to do is take the SQL that you write and build a Flink pipeline. So this uses one aspect of Presto that you guys might not be aware of, which is the ability to take the SQL, just the SQL, a parser, and hook it up with a third-party engine like Calcite and just generate a job graph, right? So Presto, just the SQL, not the engine. Coming down, the second one is you have features in Uber Eats, in the Uber main Uber app, as well as Uber Eats today, which are powered by Pinot at Uber. Again, this is low latency, high QPS use case, right? Think thousands of QPS. So obviously, we don't serve this on the Presto engine, but we serve it using a Presto interface. So what we do is we use Presto as a query proxy, right? Spread it out as a microservice and run it on top of Pinot. Again, a different way of using Pinot. The third one is the one that you guys are almost familiar with, just the interactive standard Presto interface to generate reports. And the last one is actually also very interesting. So this is something that came out of Meta, very cool stuff. So you take Presto, you take the SQL, and then you generate a Spark job out of it. But this is different from Flink. In Flink, what you're doing is query translation. Here, you're doing code generation. We'll get into the intricacies of a lot of this in the talks subsequently. But just to illustrate at a very high level, right? What Presto gives you is a great engine where you can develop your SQL and a way to take that SQL and put it to production in a plethora of ways. So these are 4 ways we have come up at Uber. I'm sure you guys will be able to bring another 10 different ways in the specialized engines that you are using. And how all of this is possible is because we are all an open community, right? We welcome all of these different ways of using Presto. And so, which brings me to our next slide. How do we enable this? So we have a Presto Foundation, which is hosted by the Linux Foundation. And we have a very well-structured way in which you can engage with the community. So on the left, we have the governing board. So if you are a company who wants to be part of the foundation, you want to be a member of the foundation, you have a way to contribute and be part of the governing board. And the governing board works with the outreach committee, which is led by the amazing Ali, who just introduced me. We use your dues to organize events like this, support the community, and so forth. And then if as an engineer you want to contribute to Presto, if you want to add your connectors, extend, things like that, you can engage with the technical steering committee. And folks so we have monthly meetings. Tim is going to talk a little more about that. And if you have a level of engagement that you take ownership of various parts, then you can become a committer in the community. And finally, if all you want to do is just consume Presto, that's fine too. We have a very thriving user community. We have a lot of user groups and channels. So we have a Slack channel, we have Google Groups, and all these meetups, right? So these are all great ways in which to engage with the community. So our community is guided by 3 main principles. So we are an open, neutral, and unified community. So what that means is everyone is welcome. We don't take any positions on which way to go or which technology is better. We just want to work collaboratively and build the best engine and ecosystem. We have open, transparent technical leadership. We work within the guidelines of the Linux Foundation. So the way we select the committees, the members, the leads, and so forth, all open, transparent elections. And this changes over time, right? So different people have an opportunity to take different roles in the community. And no one individual or company is greater. So we're not guided by people who are like dictators of the community or anything like that. It's all open. Everybody is welcome to contribute. And we are all part of one big project. And so to crystallize all of this, we have written up a credo for the foundation. And I invite you all, whenever you have a break, to come in and take a look. And as keynote speakers, to show that we're going to stand by this credo, we're going to sign this as we get off the stage, but more on that later. So with that, I'll hand it off to Ali to introduce the rest of the talk and talk a little more about the meetups and the amazing stuff that the outreach committee is leading.
Thank you, Girish. So what is the Presto community? You can see here some of the pretty incredible stats around the community. We have over 2,800 people worldwide that are part of the Presto meetup groups. If you haven't joined yet, feel free, please, to join the Bay Area if you're local, or find the city near you. If there isn't a Presto meetup where you live, feel free to start one. We would help to support that, and we really encourage that. The project is growing. We have over 14,000 stars today, and it continues to grow. You can see some of the users here, and that logo list also continues to grow. And we're seeing some really cool innovation, really exciting things happening around the Presto project. And you'll be hearing from a few of those companies and users today about what they're doing with Presto at their company. So really excited to share more of those stories. And if you're a Presto user, you have an exciting use case you want to share with the community, we really encourage you to do that. You can do it through blogs. You can do it through our virtual meetups. You can do it by coming here and presenting. A lot of opportunities. And again, we really encourage it and are very excited to share those stories. So what's in store today? We, like I mentioned, have a lot of companies that will be talking about how they're using Presto in production. There's going to be a lot of talk, and I think Girish mentioned this, around a lot of the innovation, the technical innovation, the engineering work that's going into the open source project. And then we have a lot of our partners here talking about what they're doing within the Presto ecosystem and what they're building. You can see here some of the logos, the companies today that are going to be talking. So Really excited for today. Again, in person, this is so awesome. It is so good to see your faces and to meet you and to shake your hands and to say hi. So thank you for coming. Excited for today. I know I've said excited a million times, but I am excited. So with that, I think we can step off and we can sign the credo, and I am excited